thing I want to do, man, I know we've been doing a lot of talking, but I kind of want to talk directly to our parents. All right. So when it comes to parents, man, you have to understand that education begins and ends in the house. So the expectations that you have for the schools when you send your teacher there, you should have for yourself and more. When it comes to your home, you should be the number one educator of your child. What are you allowing around your child? Who are you allowing around your child? What are you allowing them to look at on their phones? What are you allowing them to listen to and watch on TV? That all, is turning their brains into who they're gonna be. And you can't expect for you to allow your child to listen to all these things and do all these things at home that are destroying them. And then you go to school and want somebody else to build them right back up. And then they come back home and you destroy them. Then you go back to build them up. It has to be a working system. What have you done? When had the last time you took your child to the library? When has the last time you sat and done homework with your child? When's the last time you read a book, with your child? It's just different things that you can do at home to make sure or build these barriers or get over these barriers for your child by being the parent that you should be when it comes to education. Welcome, world. Welcome, family, to another episode of the EL2A Podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Jamie Gilmore Jr. To the right of me, we got Mr. Military Man, Mr. Miles McConaughey. How you feeling today, brother?
Feeling pretty good today.
I love it. To the right of her, we got the Rocket, Mr. On Your Greatness, Mr. Eddie Rawson. How you feeling today, bro?
Good today. I'm good.
Good, man. Great time to be in. Oh, if y'all don't know, down here in Ocala, Florida, it is spring break. We live in the best city in the world, in the best state in the world as well. So double whammy. So we got a lot of the kids, a lot of the educators are down here enjoying spring break. So we're actually in that wave as well. We taking a little time off. Things do get pretty hectic with us. So this is the time for us to evaluate ourselves and everything that we're doing. We've been taking time to do that. So before we get into it, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and comment. We're about to have a great dialogue. So if you haven't liked, haven't subscribed, you keep coming back every week for a reason. Make sure you're liking so you can be engaged. So when we drop these, they'll alert you and you know what we got going on. So just to get into it, watching YouTube videos this week, and it was a lot of videos on education. And it started making me think about my educational journey in when I was a child. And when I was at school, how I thought about school. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I never been the one that just said I liked school. But there was a certain way I looked at school and I approached school. And even when I got into school, there's a certain level of respect that I had for my elders. And just a lot of different things that are very, very different to the average student these days. So it started making me think, like, what's the difference? What has changed through my time in education and to now? And through me analyzing that, I just started to think that the kids are definitely growing up in a different age. That's something that we all are aware of. We talk about the digital age and the things that bring, the cell phones and the access to information that these kids have. So when I think about the educational system, it started making me think about, okay, is the educational system stuck in the ways that it's always done things, and it's not revolving to what the kids need? And there's a term that we kind of token. It's called edutainment. And it's when it misses education and entertainment. And maybe that may be an approach to school. I don't know. But there is something that's missing on our school campuses and when we talk about education. And I kind of want to have a dialogue on what that is. I feel that we spend enough time on campuses. We spend enough time around students to be able to build up analysis of what we believe and how education can grow as far as things that they can do. So I'll even get off with myself. When I first think about it, I do think that the education system is stuck. There was a certain way to do things. There was a certain way, things that you learned, the basics, the history, the social studies, and just certain things that you learned. And in those times, even it should have been different then, but now that we get so much aware of that the world is different, that kids are not taking a traditional route, that we have to change it now. It's like we're forced, like, you have to change it now. And I think that we're still into that phase of where it's uncomfortable and it's not easy to do so. I also think that when it comes to a school, in the setting of a school, that we are not taking the right approach as far as structure. If it was me, everybody would be wearing uniforms. If it was me, every school wear uniform. I think it's something that comes into that congruency of everyone looking the same. Just like sports teams, it'll be like a mindset things. Most of our, especially when it comes to boys or even girls, but when you're on sports teams, you wear the same things, and that gives you a level of same oneness. We're the same. We didn't have to worry about the kid trying to wear the best drip. At that point, you had to. I mean, they'll be trying to put on the best shoes, but it's another level of something you're cutting off. I think that's something that need to be changed. And when, like I say, with the structure, I believe with the rules. So one of my biggest things I always say with schools, and I've seen this, you can walk 2 steps into a school and see a kid getting in trouble for one thing, walk another 2 steps, and the same thing that kid just got in trouble with, another kid is getting away with it. And I think that builds a bigger gap, because now it's he doing that or she doing that, and everybody's not being held accountable to the same standard. And then you get into, that's the next level when we get into the labels that they lay in kids, and kids can't even get suspended and all these different things. So those are just some of the things just to get the conversation started that I believe. What do y'all think? So when you think about with the education system, I spin around and then we'll go around the table. What do you think are some things, or you can speak, if you don't think anything wrong, you can speak to the what you think is great and what's going good with the educational system.
I would say one of the biggest issues I see is there's a lot more distractions nowadays. You pretty much already hit on that. But just thinking back to when I was a child, thinking back to the amount of distractions I would have in my household versus the average now, is so different. I didn't have to feel like, oh, well, I'm missing out because my phone buzzing, but I'm supposed to be over here doing homework. Or, also too, I grew up out there in the country. So, I mean, the only other, youth that was out there were older cousins, my older brother at the time. So I really didn't have like the same level of distractions that a lot of kids have now, especially if they live in a more urban setting or neighborhood where, you may hear kids outside screaming, playing, and you want to go join them. I didn't have a lot of that. So for me, it was it was easier to focus on school. I mean, even when I did start getting into video games and stuff like that, the structure of my home was so, hard set. I knew I couldn't touch that controller until I had my homework done plus studies. Yeah. So it wasn't just coming home doing homework. I also had to study, and I knew that was time I had to put towards that. Then at the end of it, whatever time is left is whatever time I want to do with it. But I think a lot of that is missing out of the household, which is where it starts. That's where you start with building your relationship with academics, with school, with understanding how it comes to play in your life. And if that important building block is gone, right, it just makes the school's job that much harder to sit there and now have to try and curate that. And that's where you come into play, like what you were talking about with the edutainment, because now you have to try and play catch up for what's been lacking in the home to try to get that kid engaged. And it just makes everyone's jobs a lot harder.
Yeah. And to that point, I think there should be a mandatory stake for the parent when it comes to education. So in the public education, you have a kid that's coming to school for free. In this system, for the most part, the teachers, the principal, they don't even know what the kids' parents look like. You know what I mean? I think that should be the biggest thing. There should be mandatory parent meetings at the beginning of the year, at least quarterly. Yeah. At the least, the parent should be engaged on campus to see what's going on. Uh-huh. So you can't send your kid into an environment and don't know what's going on that campus. You don't know who you never met their teacher. You never met the principal. You probably never even stepped foot on the campus. That's the biggest part. You get what I'm saying?
Orientation. Right. Back in the day, when we were younger, orientation was big. We knew we were going to see all our friends. Even going to orientation, you wanted to be, dressed, you want to have the best drip on that particular
or just see who in your class.
Because you want to see, and that's where back in the day, the parents were engaging with the staff festival too, and with the other teachers. So,
and I wonder, at that point, was orientation ever? It was almost mandatory.
Basically, that's how you found out what your classes were. But nowadays, you got Skyward. Students don't have to go to they don't have to go to school anymore to figure out who their teacher's going to be.
them for a bus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you had to for the bus.
Yeah.
So in order to know your pickup time, your bus number, and to make sure that you're on the route, like you had to. And it's just like, you know, to you, boy, it was that you had to come there to get certain information. And so, you know, with evolution, I mean, we talked about this before on the pod, you know, with evolution or progress, there's always a price to it. Like it's good when it's good, but then when you have these little chinks in it that's not, you know, talked about or not proactively worked at, that's when you kind of falling in this gap, what we're talking about. And then you throw a global pandemic on top of it, you just add a fuel to the fire.
Yeah. And that pandemic definitely crushed a lot. So we can't walk over that like that.
Yeah, you have to address
and mess a lot of stuff up. So that did. But even to like how we address issues to when you're trying to address a problem, you can't use something as you acknowledge it. You acknowledge that it happened, but okay, what do we do now? And even going back to what we're talking about, so the mandatory engagement to the parents, we found out that the parent is the key source, the pivotal source until when it comes to education. A child's education is only going to be as high as or good as the parent allows it to be. From your standpoint, like you said, you had someone that held you accountable to coming home and making sure you did work. Same thing with us. My mom was a teacher. You get what I'm saying? So it wasn't no bucking the system. We was reading during the summer. We were doing all the extra step, going to libraries and different things because we understood, she preached us how important our education was. Most kids aren't getting that. If you're a parent and you allow your child to come home and pick their phone up first before they do their work, you're failing your child. And you have to know that that's not right, because you're allowing this kid to know that they get to feel freedom or whatever it is before the work gets done. So when they be an adult, they're going to expect to have that same feeling before the work gets done. That's not how the world works. You have to get the work done. You know what I mean? You have to approach your work and then you get your free time. And I think that's the missing piece. So it's like, how do we get I think that's the question. How do you get the parents back engaged? We just talked about the orientation. How do we create that same environment back with the education system to where it's an expectation that you have to be here or your kid can't come here? You know what I mean? Like one of those things. I think until we can get a system like that to where it's like, you have to be here. You know what I mean? I have to see you quarterly. You have to parent-teacher meetings. I thought that was regular because my mama gonna come to that school. Yeah. She want to know anything wrong. If she don't feel it's right, she's coming to inquire about it. You get what I'm saying? Gotcha. She's leaving extensions and call me directly. You know what I mean? That type of mentality, and I think that's missing. And to the key point when we go to like the respect. My dad sent us a video in our family group chat, and it was his mom that came to the school and went AWOL on her son. Like he was disrespectful, but she went overboard. I mean, whooping him, took him in front of the teacher, just started welling on him.
I thought I said, I seen that video.
Cussing him out, blase. But it's like, dang, mom, why you wait till get all the way here?
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure you don't been getting called and you just, now it's just to get to the point where you don't explode it. Now you come up and do that. What were the necessary steps taken in between that till you got to this point?
Right.
And I think that's what we missing. So parents is one. I think we already knew that. So Ross, I'll let you jump in and get your
a language barrier, and not where you speaking, foreign language, but technically it is a foreign language. A foreign language between the students and the teachers, and a foreign language between the parents and the teachers. Everybody, we're not on the same page. We're not speaking the same language. And I think that goes to your point as far as the engagement. How am I going to help my child do homework if I don't even know what's going on in the school anyway? But if I'm an engaged parent, I'm seeing what's going on, somewhat what's going on, and I'm going to try my best to speak that same language as the teacher of my child. But if not, I know who to outsource my child to get that extra help. So that aspect of being a language barrier, and also how we were brought up, like you said, you started off about, you alluded to it, the respecting our elders. I remember I used to be like, all right, how old are you? I have to count, because if you're not 5 years older than me, I don't feel like I have to respect you. I mean, I'm saying that in a humorous way, but nowadays the respect isn't there. And then it trickles down to the way that, not only the way that the kids respect the teachers, but the way the teachers respect the kids.
For sure, two-way street.
And that's where being in the schools, we see that. A lot of times the students will tell you, oh, well, she doesn't talk to me the right way, or he doesn't talk to me the right way. He's disrespectful. well, how can we get the kids to be engaged? How do we expect the kids to want to come and learn if they always feel like the person that they're about to see 180 days out of the year is going to be disrespectful to them? And I get it. Like you said, it's a two-way street. Same thing. I'm a human being. I got feelings as well, regardless if I'm a teacher, a principal, or whatever the case may be. But if I feel like, okay, when I come to the school for 180 days out of the year, this kid gonna be disrespectful to me. Am I happy with coming, to a work environment every day knowing that I'm gonna get disrespected by this child that should be respecting me because I'm his elder? Yeah. So it's definitely a big language barrier.
Yeah. What's up, family? Man, have you liked, subscribed, or commented yet?
Takes 2 seconds. Commenting also is a great way to help us refine what we do here.
You family, right? We need you.
Come on, man. Like, subscribe, and comment. Peace. Yeah, and relationship, and I agree with you with the language. But what came to my mind was relationships, because the relationship, no matter what language you're speaking to me, if we have a relationship, it'll give me a different level of empathy when it comes to you. You know what I mean? Or how you're talking to me. I may have another level of understanding. For example, one of our mentees, we can get a little more aggressive with them because they understand we have the relationship. They understand, they care. I fully believe that there should be the first week, and again, so I get the curriculum and I get the state mandate of the testing and all those things that come up. So it makes teachers have to hit the ground running to meet these things. I get that. But I believe the first week of school should be set for relationship building. That first week of school, we shouldn't talk about anything school, as far as school related. We should just be talking about ourselves. Who are you? And this is who I am. This has been my journey. And there should be a teacher's aide in that class. After the teacher addresses the group, should be able to, throughout the days, go into their little cubbies or wherever space they got and have a one-on-one with each student, just to have a conversation. Who are you? You know what I mean? What are your goals? What do you want to do? I'm invested in your growth. I'm here for you. And have that language transfer, that student understands that this person cares for me. Bro, you hear those stories where kids, say my teacher said they don't want me to fail. They wanted me to fail. But I like to believe for most part, bro, most teachers care. It just the way it's that energy is transferred in a get your stuff done and not a loving way because of what they have to get done. So if we could take a full week out in the first week of school, have a conversation with these kids, let them know exactly why I'm doing this. This is what we're going to do. And hit home on that thing. Have a one-on-one meeting with this. If you think about it, if y'all had that, how many times do y'all think a teacher has a one-on-one conversation with a student?
And you making a good point. And just, to piggyback off of it. So the relationship that we build with the mentees, imagine, or the stories that you heard where the teacher's at the front of the classroom, I guess, speaking to a kid about something that he did wrong. That kid gets upset. He lashes back at the teacher. Well, last week, I was at a school and I was in the classroom and I seen where my mentee and one of his buddies that he's sitting next to disrespecting the teacher. Now, I'm still in the front of the classroom as well, and I have both of them come up front to where I was at. So the teacher, she finished talking, but I'm still in front of the classroom. And I'm talking to them, telling them what they did, what they were wrong at. Not one, there was no disrespect. There was no altercation back and forth. But to your point, the relationship has been built. We've had these one-on-ones with the one particular mentee. But the fact that his friend seen that, okay, well, obviously they care about each other. The friend didn't even say, yes, sir, you're right. Yeah, I'm sorry for disrespecting. And then they wouldn't apologize to the teacher. But it's that relationship that's been built between the mentee and the student. So now the way that it's coming off is not perceived as, all right, he just disrespecting me. Now he telling me right from wrong, and I know I was wrong, so now I have to respect that.
Yeah, and I've even seen that from time to time. So think about with our mentees, even the ones that cut up. So I'm gonna talk about one in particular, our small guy, Mr. BG. I've been in a situation where he is tearing the school up, and when I arrived in that setting or in his class, he quickly changed and started doing what he's supposed to do. Yeah. And then I would leave and he would get back into character. What it is about me that makes him think that when I'm there that he should do what I say or respect what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do anything more so than just build a relationship and show him I care. I've showed up to his house when things weren't going right. I took him from his house and went out and to eat with him and show him different things. the teachers probably got more hours in with them because as far as a date, well, I ain't gonna say they got more hours in because it's only a small part of time, but they see him more times probably. But the relationship that I've built with him, he knows and understands I care. And one thing, even in situations like that, that's a bad situation to be in because I always empathize with the teacher. And I told him this. I said, I can imagine being a teacher and you tearing my classroom up and not listening to me, and this man come in this room and you get in order for him, and when he leaves, you get back with disrespect to me. I can only imagine what that makes a teacher feel, the disrespect that they even feel. They probably feel more disrespect because you're showing them that you can do it. And then so you're choosing not to respect me at this point. And then I said, now you should try to tell him that. You don't understand what you're doing that moment. So I come in, because every time I would leave, I would get a call that he got sent out. But I understood it because I knew what that teacher probably did as soon as I left. She probably said something to him just to trigger. I don't know what she was trying to, but I understood that. But again, it's a relationship building. Imagine if that teacher would have had the time or maybe put the same effort into to build a relationship with that student as me. And again, let's not act like we don't understand the pressure and all the things that the teachers have to deal with. We understand that you have 30 kids and 6 periods rotation of kids that are coming in. So that's a real thing.
And a life outside.
So I totally get that. But there has to be a goal. What's the goal and how do we get there? And so I do think that, so I what I've heard us say, I think we started, what was the first thing we said? Parents. Then you said over there, I said relationship building, you said
Language barrier.
Language barrier, and what'd you say right here?
I said the parents.
Parents, okay, parents. So those are some key things, and even with the education, bro, so again, there was some negative things that we're talking about, but good things that, on my end point. When it comes to the schools, bro, they truly care.
Yeah.
There's not no campus that I went on and I can say that they don't care. The way they get that care and love across, sometimes it may be wrong, but their true intentions is they care about those students. And the students don't receive it the right way, and they don't understand that those are probably, if not the only people in their corner that actually really do care for them. We as schools, I feel like, just need to do a better job. So that's one of the things that jump off the sheet to me, because it's like there's no, especially the 6 schools that we're on, man, those people will go over and beyond for those kids. They would jump backwards for those kids. And they do it daily, you know what I mean? On those campuses, they are doing things that they shouldn't do, or kids that should be sent home, that they're not sending home, that they're giving that extra, or they're having that empathy with them because they understand what they're dealing with at home. You know how many times I've heard, well, he got this going on, she got this going on, that we're going to let this one go, but just let them know that they can't do it again. You know what I mean? But those level, that's what, when I'm saying relationship building, those are the things that take it to it, that understanding level, having an understanding with somebody and being able to give them that extra chance. I do see that day to day. So for me, that's what I would say things good. What about y'all? Y'all saying when you think good things that are happening on campuses?
I'll say, and you just said it, but understanding to an extent. There again, people are people, bro. We can't change that. We have other people that do what we do, but the level of intent, we said with the level of intent that we do our job to, or we do the work that we do with the kids is, sometimes it's shown at a deeper level. So there's a level of understanding with from the teachers to the students as well. So from the school, you just have certain staff that show it more than others. And then that's shown, like you just said, I mean, there are times where a teacher may have that conversation with that student and know what they're dealing with outside of home, and they will go the extra mile. I know y'all done heard different stories with, some of the teachers that, whether they're taking food or providing resources or whatever the case may be. So there is a level of understanding. So yeah, I'll just keep it that, but there is a level of understanding within the schools.
Yeah, love to understand. What you got, Brother Ma?
I would say that for the most part, I would say that most of the times interaction, especially with the higher tier faculty members, I would say they definitely care. The care is there. Like you said, it's more so about how it's displayed. It's not to say that the way that they display it is wrong. It's just a miscommunication piece. But I haven't felt at any point in time there's a teacher or a staff member that's just like, I don't care. They just had that type of that zeal or attitude. In fact, most of the time they will pick your brain to try to say like, well, how can I, connect with them on this level, or, or they bounce things off. And so the only type of person that's really going to do that in a genuine sense is somebody that care. Most people, if they don't care, they're not even going to sit there and try to pick your brain about it, or inquire about this student, or ask about how they doing, or even if they see you now, they want to highlight the student and say that, oh, he is doing a good job in my class, like, because that's something that they did have to do. They have to report the negative stuff to an extent, but they don't have to give that kid his win. But they will, especially if they see you. They'll make a point to come over there and tell you.
Yeah, and I think I shared that earlier off the offline. But I think that's one of the biggest things, highlighting contributions or highlighting, rewarding the kids. And they do a good job, but I think it should be even higher, because the disciplinary actions are so voiced and known. I think that we need to take the same action when it comes to highlighting them. So as far as if it's putting a face up around campus for doing, we talk about the morning announcements, highlighting, hey, these kids got AB honor, or these kids just did this, or whatever award. If they get some outside of school, just acknowledging what they're doing. Again, that lets me know that, because we build the barrier in schools, us first down. It's never just us. It should be us, but it's not. It's us first down. You know what I mean? When I come in, it's them. You hear the moms talking, well, they. Hear the kids, well, they. Man, who is they? We in it together. It's us. And that that conversation right there can mean the world. Because if you're on the same team with me, I understand that what you're doing is for the betterment of me. But as soon as your other team, it's like you're blocking me from being great. Man, she tripping. Man, he tripping. It's always like that those type of words. It's like, no, bro, we trying to help you. We trying to hold you accountable for your actions. We trying to show you that what you're doing. I just said it, and me and Brother Roy was just in the room with a whole bunch of young boys over there at Oak Crest Elementary. We were there because the young fifth graders, their actions towards the school campus, they weren't doing the best, or just being the best they could be. So we were just motivating them. And I went in there, I specifically said, young man, what you're doing today, you're breaking the laws. I said, you don't understand it and you don't look at it like that. I said, you're in a classroom and you're getting a referral, and it's basically like a slap on the wrist, because you understand that this referral is only a temporary thing, and it's going to send you home where you want to be, or it's going to put you somewhere. It's not that big of the punishment is not really that severe to you. But what you don't understand, you're breaking the laws of this school. And once you keep doing this, you keep giving referrals, you're being okay. You build a habit of being okay with breaking the law. And then once you become an adult, what you continue to do is do what you want to do, what goes against the rules. And now you end up in jail somewhere, and you look back like, how this happened? But you've been doing it all your life. All your life, you've been doing the same action, getting a referral, getting a referral, getting a referral, getting a referral. Now you're in high school, getting a referral. Now you graduate. Now you you go to jail. Now you're looking crazy. It's like, bro, you've been doing this all your life, but nobody sat you down and looked you in your eye and told you, say, bro, you're breaking the laws. And you're going to end up in jail sooner or later. Keep it up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I literally looked them in the eyes like, bro, this is what's going to happen. This is the outcome. You get what I'm saying? Because you're building a habit. The habits are hard to break. If you build a habit from elementary all the way up to high school, that's almost who you are. You made this thing who you are. And this is who you are at this point. And I think that's what we got to do. We got to paint these pictures in these kids' heads that they really understand it. One of the young boys, he pushed back on me. He said, "That's not breaking the law." And I challenged. I say, young brother, I said, I don't need you to say. I said, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. All right. I need you to listen more than you talk right now. I said, I don't really need to hear that. I said, I love that you're being inquisitive right now, but this is not the time for it, because I'm telling you what you need to hear. And he took it in. He pushed back like one more time about something else. But at the end of it, I always do it. I say, I need to have I need you to tell me what you learned. You know what I mean? I didn't do all this talking. And we were out of classroom, they saying some great things about what they learned. He finally raised his hand. He said, getting a referral is just like breaking the laws. But he said what he pushed back on. And I told him, I said, you don't know how pivotal that was. You took the time to pause. You pushed back, but you listened to me. You took it in. And then when I asked you what you learned, you told me what you just said wasn't breaking the laws. And I was like, that's how we create change, because he'll never forget that. Because he took the time to challenge it, sit with it, and then give it back to me. That's going to be more impactful than the kid that just sat there and just went with it on just because I said it. He challenged it first. That thing will stick with him for forever, man.
And back to praising the kids too, though, because we got one of our youngest members of Cut Different at after school program at Howard Academy. he was getting in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
But so, a lot of, things he was getting in trouble for. But last week when we had our onboard meeting, I seen him. He was in tutoring, but he came out. Mr. Eddie, I did good today. You know what I'm saying? But that was, like you say, when the more you praise a kid, so even if he's doing bad, praise him when he's doing good. And that could, the positive can outweigh the negative. And now you're breeding something totally different. Now his mom is saying, no, he's doing, he's still a normal 7-year-old child, but he, now he's doing other things, more positive things where it's not as bad. And I think, like you say, that's communication. We are with the schools, but at home, you can't dismiss the parents, because that's where it's, if you see your son doing something, you see your child doing something good, acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Because that can go unnoticed for so long to where the kid just feel like no matter what I do, good or bad or good, you're not gonna say anything. Yeah. So now I'm gonna just keep doing what I want to do because it's not getting praised when I do the right thing or do the positive thing. You know what I'm saying? So definitely letting the kid know when they're doing right or when they're doing good in school, I think that'll help out as well.
Yeah, too. The thing is, if the only time a kid know that you're willing to come sit or speak on their behalf is when they get in trouble, you're essentially conditioning that kid to seek that, because at the end of the day, a kid is always going to seek their parents' approval largely above anyone else.
Yeah.
Unless you allow that kid to, to shop elsewhere for attention, which happens a lot of times with social media and these phones. They get that dopamine hit from someone else. But when it comes to the parent, if the only time, because we see it even with some of these young men, they know that their parent will come to bat when it's a, like you say, them versus us situation. So if you're craving that validation from your mom and your dad, but the only time they're in your corner is when y'all staring down a referral charge or something like that. Like, that young man, though they know it's wrong, they're like, well, that's the only way I can get it. Same way, like when you have some of these kids that's labeled as class clowns, they make everybody laugh, but why? Why? Because they're getting that love. They're getting some level of feedback, even though they're being met with something negative coming against them, a referral or being yelled at. That hit that they getting dopamine-wise trumps that piece of paper getting talked to. So, we really have to understand why kids do the things that they do and not just take it at the surface level and say, oh, that's a bad kid or this, that, and the other. It's not making a crutch, but if you're hoping to actually facilitate change in that young man, you got to understand why he's doing it. And then, like you said, start promoting and saying, good job on behaving today. Because it's all about reworking their mentalities. That's what it is we do, is just reworking their mentalities and saying, look, there's a better way to do this. And once more people get on board with that, instead of trying to take the easy way out, it just be like, oh, these labels, he a bad kid, or he got some medical wrong with them, this, that, and the other, or that teacher racist and that teacher this. Like, once you get past all that and just like, okay, how can I genuinely understand this situation as objectively as possible, then you will see some of the red flags that's been there. And sometimes the red flags are easy fixes. Like with the youngest man, just literally just throwing a celebration anytime he come with a like a 90 or 100 on his behavioral chart. Like, nah, just give him positive feedback, let him feel that positive energy, and now he's craving that the right way.
It's funny you said that as well. Like, it also changed the way that they think too. So it's funny. So with my youngest daughter, with Naya, I remember one day I called, and when I called, her mom was like, Naya, your dad on the phone. So the first thing she said was, what I do? So that, when she said, I'm like, oh man, every time I do call or whenever she do call, it's 9 times out of 10 because of what she did wrong in school. Right then and there, I told myself, oh yeah, this can't happen. I don't want you to think that when your dad calling you or when you talking to me, it's because you did something wrong. No, I need to do better on my end as a parent to call you just, baby, how your day going? Or how was school? And now when we talk, it definitely changed because I was able to acknowledge that right away. Like, nah, and I had to had that conversation, that language barrier with her mom. Look, don't just call whenever, or we're not just gonna talk when she doing wrong, because that's now I look like the bad guy. When that's all, I was thinking I was being a good parent, which I was, just trying to get her back on course and doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, that was still creating this negative thought in my daughter's head. So whenever she heard me on the phone that day, well, what did I do? I was just your daddy calling and check on you. So
And that same, and it's funny, so that same way that hit your ears when you heard her say it, that's the same cry that the kids are saying in the school. It don't sound, because it ain't their child that they dealing with. So it don't sound the same. And they're there for a job. You get what I'm saying? So it don't sound when that kid making that same cry like, what I did, why you know what I mean? Or what's going on? And it's the same cry that they saying, but it just don't sound different.
That's when they say that, because we see that all the time. But when they say that, now you get some staff that don't understand that, because they're not trying to understand. They're not trying to talk that same language to understand that. Now that kid just trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? Now this is your time to speak to him in a way and get him to understand, like, all right, well, this is what need to happen, or this is what need to be done.
Yeah. And that get old. And again, like, I always don't want to be general when you talk about this, because some teachers do faculty do take that approach of trying to vet out situations, and sometimes they get old. You know what I mean? Like, no, just you in trouble. But for the most part, man, we got to do a better job of this team building aspect, the relationship building when it comes to school. So I would say the big thing. And one thing I want to do, man, I know we've been doing a lot of talking, but I kind of want to talk directly to our parents. All right. So when it comes to parents, man, you have to understand that education begins and ends in the house. So the expectations that you have for the schools when you send your teacher there, you should have for yourself and more. When it comes to your home, you should be the number one educator of your child. What are you allowing around your child? Who are you allowing around your child? What are you allowing them to look at on their phones? What are you allowing them to listen to and watch on TV? That all, is turning their brains into who they're going to be. And you can't expect for you to allow your child to listen to all these things or do all these things at home that are destroying them. And then you go to school and want somebody else to build them right back up. And then they come back home and you destroy them. Then you go back to build them up. It has to be a working system. What have you done? When had the last time you took your child to the library? When has the last time you sat and done homework with your child? When's the last time you read a book, with your child? It's just different things that you can do at home to make sure or build these barriers or get over these barriers for your child by being the parent that you should be when it comes to education. You cannot send your child into these school systems and then expect for them to be the number one educator and expect for them to do everything for your child that you should be doing. All right. And I know that's school. Why they going to school? You're their parent. You birthed them. You're the dad, whatever. Like, you have the same responsibility and more to your child to make sure that they grow up to be the person that they need to be. All right. So read with your kids. All right. Have standards for your child, responsibilities for your child. Hold your child accountable. Don't look at other people before you look at your child and look at yourself. All right. That's just my little 2 minutes or 1 minute of what I have for my parents. All right. All right, fellas. So good conversation, man. So if I just to kind of recap what we just said, I know we started off talking about some of the things that, I guess wrong or could be better with the schools. I know we said parents was one, relationship building, and a language barrier. So that, if you could take all these, if you're an educator or if you could think about that. So obviously you can't control the parents, but parents, we need you to be better. But the language that we communicate with each other when we're in schools, making sure that we not talking at them, but talking to the students when we're in the school setting, and definitely the relationship building. We should be setting time aside to build relationship with our students. Again, I understand that there's not enough time in the day, but we should, if it's a couple each week, we should be taking time to have a one-on-one conversation with these students to make sure that they have what they need. A lot of these kids are showing up empty. They empty. Where they're coming from is just taken from them and not feeding them and giving anything to them. And then when they get to schools, they're empty and they need to refill something to refill them. And I know it's a lot of work, but that's what we are here for as far as mentors, educators, all these different things. So those are all did any more that I miss out on?
For the parents though, I will also suggest just spending more time with your kids. And because when you think about it, like you say, the teacher's going to see the students way more than the parent probably would. And I get you got to work, but you remember it was that I had, I had a long week that particular week. But even after I finished doing what I did, the first thing I told you asked me what was I going to do, what I had planned for the rest of the day, and I was like, I gotta get with the kids. I had to make time for them, because at the end of the day, that time, whether you're doing an activity or reading a book or watching a movie and eating popcorn together, that's building the relationship between you and your child. that can help you understand the language barrier that they may have with the teachers at school. So it's all encompassing in the same thing. That time at home can when it turns into a positive, that all can turn it, transition back into the school. And now the understanding and the language barrier, all of those things can help each other out, but everybody got to be on the same team, to your point. So
I know. I mean, like we all been saying, the biggest thing is the time spent. I mean, there's been studies done that'll highlight and show that time spent with a child basically is an equalizing force between a family that has money and one that's impoverished. It's the time spent. I mean, even when we bring it down to our community, historically speaking, you've had many great Black thinkers and innovators and leaders come from families whose parents were slaves. They couldn't read, do math, or anything like that. Yet they were still able to go off and accomplish great, wonderful things as an adult. So that goes to show you that you don't have to be the most educated parent. You just need to be active. You need to sit and put that investment in, that time, and trust, that because of the building blocks that you gave to them, that now as they navigate through life, they can be a sponge and take in information, but also filter it out and say, okay, this is what I need, this is what I don't need to sit there and chart for. I mean, I just give kudos to my parents that they did the same thing. They may not have known everything, but because they put time into me, that I understood when I went out into the world and just navigating different things in life, that I handled it in a way that was mature for one, but also put me in the right setting to take in knowledge to advance, my life. And that's where it is. My parents didn't come from, they didn't have millions. They didn't have, PhDs in front of their names and all this other stuff, but it was the time. And that's what you remember most anyways, is the time. Even the little silly stuff, like you said, just shoot. I remember times where my dad just got on the floor and just did stupid stuff like playing with us, but those are memories that you keep. And when you become a parent, you get that same level of attention, if not more than, because that should always be your goal as a parent, to give your child more than what you had. Even if what you had wasn't much, you still give them that. And time all you can give, then give it, because that's the most valuable asset anyways. So
I love it. All right, if you haven't already, I know what time it is, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. All right, we had a great conversation today. We hope that you've been commenting. Give us your take, man. What do you think? I'm pretty sure there's some educators that are watching this content right now. What do you think is the number one thing that's holding our school systems back around the world, or wherever you at? What is holding your school system back? What are some things that can be implemented to change it, to make it better? What are some things that they're doing good so other people can read them and say, hey, this is what's going good right now where I'm at, and maybe we can implement it everywhere around the world. All right, so when it comes to education of our youth or our child, this is something everyone should be invested in. It's something everyone should care about. So this conversation we had today, everybody that's watching this, you have a stake into it. You may not be directly into it, but it's gonna affect you in some way, because we're always saying our future leaders, and at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're building up our future leaders and the people that's gonna run the world. And man, we have to make sure that we're giving these students, the kids, everything that they need to be successful. So through the couple things that we threw out today, I know it'll work, because we're in it. We spend a lot of time mentoring young boys, and we understand what they need and what they don't have. And I feel that if you can implement some of the things we said today, it's going to change our environment, change our school, and make it a better place. All right. Anything else y'all fellas got before we wrap it up?
Put in time, man.
Put that time in. All right. Like, subscribe, and comment. All right, family. See y'all next time.